obviously, Nicola and I want to come down here and actually just think about the people that have actually passed over the course of the evening. Think about those that have been rushed to hospital and are fighting injuries. But it was also a great privilege to spend some time with firefighters and actually hear the stories from them as to what they've been wrestling with. And you're just struck again and again by the bravery of our fire service and our first responders and incredible people and great set of teams there focusing on trying to do the right thing. So, it's pretty shocking what we've seen here overnight, and it's our thoughts and prayers are definitely with the people who have lost their lives, the families that have lost loved ones, and those that are now fighting for their lives in hospital, as well as being grateful for our responders.
You've spoken to some survivors at the scene, some of which expressed some concern about the building itself. Do you both share the same concern? What are you hearing about the living conditions?
Yeah, well, I mean, we spoke to two gentlemen who had been on the second floor. They had, one had gone to the bathroom and had realised there was smoke-filled hallways and woke up his colleague and got out of there. I think there's going to be time for us to ask some bigger questions about what has happened here and to get an appropriate inquiry underway. But frankly, today is a day where our thoughts and prayers are with the residents and have lost their lives and those that are fighting for them, and grateful for our first responders and our fire service.
What did the fire service staff tell you while you were over there?
Well, it's an amazing group because there was a fire service, a fireman who had actually just been there 2 months. There were others that had been there 2 or 3 years, and there were others that had been there 47 years. And so you're very struck by the camaraderie and the quality of the team and the way they support each other. For even the long-timers, there was up there in terms of events that they've seen and experienced in their career. And certainly for anyone who'd been there in the last 10 years, it was one of the biggest events they've experienced for sure. So, but again, you're just struck, I think, Nicola, by the huge amount of great teamwork, incredibly brave. I mean, at the peak of that fire last night, they were in there for a maximum of 15 minutes because it was so intense and so hot. They're going through so much oxygen so quickly. And remembering they're carrying 30 kilograms of extra weight on them as they go through that building in a very intense fire and a very hot fire, and then have to come out, recoup, and then go back in again. And so huge admiration for what they do and their bravery.
And it was, one of them said to me, for them, it's only just begun, because they have the potentially really traumatic task ahead of them of re-entering that building and finding any bodies. And I know that there's some trepidation about that task. It's not something we would wish upon anyone, but that's the service they do for our community to ensure that loved ones can be returned to their families. So there's a lot ahead for them.
Will either of you, your own reflections, obviously with your connections here, what has been going through your mind since you've been on the ground here at the scene?
Yeah, look, just shocking news to wake up to this morning, a real nightmare, and I'm struck by this feeling that it's not the sort of incident you expect to happen in New Zealand in 2023. The idea of a fire ripping through a hostel like this is something you associate with other countries in years gone by, and just real feelings for all of those who were both in the building and trapped, their family, their friends, but also those who escaped. It's a massive trauma to go through, and I'm really conscious that these are some of the vulnerable members in our community. These are people who will require a lot of support over the next few days. But I have this real confidence that Wellington is a really caring community, and we've already seen the City Mission and others, local churches, come in to make it clear to everyone who is living in this building that Wellington's here for you, we'll support you. We know you've been through a terrible time, and we want to help you.
Will you be wanting the government to make a special look, or essentially just look into fire safety regulations among accommodation providers? Is that something that you'd like to see?
Well, look, there's no doubt that there will be questions to be asked and answered, both about the standard of regulation and whether regulations were followed. I don't think today's the day. Out of respect for the victims, everyone's still involved with the ongoing rescue and clean-up efforts. I just want to pay respects to those involved, and the time for those kinds of inquiries will come.
Will the National Party or either of you be making a contribution to the Mural Relief Fund?
Oh, I'm sure we can think about that, and absolutely, I personally will be. But I mean, the point here is really There's a lot of work still to go. I mean, at the moment it's all about stabilising that building so they can get search and rescue teams in there to ultimately do the recovery work that they need to do. And so there's, that's really the focus, is making sure that our teams and our police and our fire service working together now, and the incident controllers and the stabilisers and the search and rescue folk can actually get in there and do what they need to do. And so, as Nicola said, that's where our thoughts are and our focus is today.
And when speaking with them, did they feel like they were supported in the resources that they had?
Yes, I think that. I think they do. I mean, they're just a phenomenal people when you see them in operation under incredibly trying circumstances. And so the way they work together, the way they are a true team, the way they support each other is very inspiring.
Some of them have had a big start to the year. They reflected that they were just at a memorial last week for officers lost during Cyclone Gabrielle. Many of them have been involved in Hastings and other events. And I just reflect that these are incredibly brave men and women who put themselves on the line for our community, and feel enormous gratitude to them. We have to make sure that they are well supported.
Yeah, some of the team from here, from Wellington, have been outplaced into Muriwai, and were there for the slides that were out there as well. So Nicola said, tough year for them.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. To stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald, click the subscribe button below, or check out one of the videos here, and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.